Back here on the Chill Factor. How's everybody doing? You hanging in there for hump day? Well, guess what? I've got my friend Ann on the line. She always gives us wonderful information, as always. I know we missed a little segment last week. I apologize ahead of time. I was away, but Ann is always going strong. So, Ann Canfield, welcome in again to the Chill Factor. Good evening.
Good evening. I am so excited to be here and be joining everybody online.
Online and around the world, 69 countries.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yay. And you are part of it. And we are grateful to you very, very
Wonderful.
much. Yes. Guys, go follow Ann. She's got it going on. She knows what she's talking about and she absolutely helps everybody. So tonight's segment is all about, go ahead, Ann. I'll let you take over again.
So we're going to start with a quote from a Broadway show that's currently on Broadway. It's called A Hadestown. And it states this: communicating between your ears and behind your eyes, this is where the real road lies. This segment is all about communicating with ourself, because that's where it all begins. How can we communicate with ourselves? How do we increase that self-compassion, to have confidence in our communication? And how do we trust ourselves more? And it's interesting because I know that on the outside world, being the humans that we are, we look for this validation and this reassurance from others. People that smile at us, people that give us a hug, they give us a gift, they call us on the phone, they drop us a lovely text. All of this validation that comes from the outside, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. However, today's segment is all about communicating with ourselves so that we are actually self-validating. So we're validating for ourselves who we are. Rick Hansen, who studies positive neuroplasticity, he has a book called Hard Wiring Happiness. I'm a positive neuroplasticity trainer. And one thing he talks about is how sometimes if we've had a bad experience and somebody comes up and says, wow, you're such a wonderful person. You are so kind. It doesn't always land with us. And we don't actually believe it, because in our head we're saying, yeah, right, that's what you think, but that isn't what I think of myself. So that is what we are going to talk about today. I have told you on a previous segment, I'm a huge fan of acronyms. Today's acronym is PLUS, P-L-U-S, as in plus one. You've heard of the statement, me, myself, and I. That's what we're thinking about, plus one. There's the us of today, and there's the us of yesterday. So we're going to start with, what does PLUS stand for? Well, it stands with the fact when we communicate with ourselves, we are going to do, the first letter is the letter P, pause and patience with ourselves. The letter L is lean into what you are feeling. The U is understand what each moment is teaching you. What are you learning? Because your brain is constantly listening and it's learning. And then the S is seek the evidence to trust yourself. You see, in our minds, we actually have something called the negativity bias. Our brains are like Velcro for the negative and Teflon for the positive. And you might think, well, why is that? Why do I always go to the negative? Your brain's primary job is that you survive another day. That's its job, to protect you, to be sure that you don't make mistakes. And in doing so, it remembers and it thinks first, wait a minute, remember the last time you did that, something bad happened? Do you remember how this might not have worked out? Because it needs to protect you from bad things happening. The amygdala is what does that. And that's its job, is to protect you. And as a more highly evolved human, it's our job to pause and to go, wait a minute. I know, amygdala, you're trying to protect me, but let me just think this through. So that's what we're going to talk about. Because the goal of this podcast is, how can we tell ourselves and remind ourselves what is true? We know that some of you may have had adversity, as I know I've had my share. The goal of this is to see a bigger perspective. And when we are looking to change our thoughts and how we might want to feel more at peace in order to have that self-confidence. So I've got a story for you to illustrate this. And the story is about salt. So if you are able, I want you to just picture a cup of salt. And that salt is all of these negative experiences. It could be loss. It could be grief. It could be trials. All of your troubles are going to be that one cup of salt. And we are not going to change that cup of salt, because we're going to recognize, I have these trials, I have these issues. If we take that cup of salt and we put it in 1 gallon of water, and I tell you to drink a cup of that, it's going to be disgusting. As a matter of fact, it'd probably be incredibly harmful to you. So we are not going to do that. We're going to take that same cup of salt, the trials, the heartaches, the adversity, and we're going to put it into a 5-gallon bucket of water. And we're going to say, this time let's take just a half a cup. You see, we haven't changed the bad, but what we've done is we've added water, we've diluted it. And we've taken a half a cup. Still doesn't taste very good. Probably isn't that great for you. Here's the third scenario. We're going to take that cup of salt and we're going to add it in 5 gallons of water. And we're going to say, take 1 teaspoon. Some people might even say that might actually be okay. It might be healthy. You see, we're not going to ever say, we're not going to acknowledge. We're going to acknowledge that we have loss, we have adversity. There's always going to be the bad. This is all about the fact of you having a perspective, taking a step back and recognizing all of the good, which would be the water in this scenario. Because what happens is sometimes we focus too much on that negative and that bad stuff, kind of like that amygdala that's trying to protect you. Don't do that. It could be harmful. It might be bad. That's that negative. We don't want to take that away, but what we do want to do is say, but let's look at all this good that you have. And let's think about the positive. And how can we use that to communicate better with ourselves on that case-by-case scenario? Does that make sense a little bit, Kathleen?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you think about that story?
I think it's wonderful, and I think that you use too much salt.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's an
that's
open wound. That's what it is, an open wound. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Exactly, because sometimes what people think is, oh, well, positive thinking means you're not going to recognize I have the bad. And that's kind of the goal. I'm like, no, we're recognizing it. We see it. It's always going to be there. We get that. But what we are trying to say is, but I do want to kind of open your eyes a little bit, take the blinders off a little bit, and let's start taking in some of that good that's happening around us as well. So let's start with pause and patience. When we think about positive neuroplasticity and we think about those conversations in our head, I'll give you a small example here, is that I might go up to somebody and I might want to ask them a question, a coworker, and all of a sudden they kind of put their hand up in my face and they go, hold on, I have to get this done. And I immediately go, oh, I shouldn't have bothered her, right? It's that moment before I start telling myself in my head, we're going to pause and we're going to be patient. We're going to slow it down and we're going to even ask ourselves a question, because that amygdala is immediately going to go, wait a minute, I'm feeling threatened. I don't know. I might be upsetting somebody, right? Fear of rejection. Those things might be coming in. We're going to say we want to take a breath. We're going to slow down that moment, because what we're actually looking at is we're going to say, it might not be me. It might not be me. Let me look at this entire scenario. Who am I dealing with? What is going on in their world? That self-talk is kind of like, oh, okay, hold on, no worries. It might not be me. She just might be having a bad day. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt. And what we're going to do is we're going to have patience to ask ourselves a question. What's happening here? What's going on here? Because what happens inside your brain is your amygdala immediately goes off and it says, oh, hold on, I see a problem. What happens is when you pause and you slow down, you actually then can ask a question of yourself. Hold on, why is she doing that right now? Why is she putting her hand up in front of me? You activate your prefrontal cortex, and it actually tells your amygdala, calm down. There's no threat here. Rick Hansen calls it a paper tiger. And your amygdala immediately goes off thinking, oh my gosh, this is a threat. But you're a little bit more evolved than that. So you say, wait a minute, hold on. She's probably just having a moment. She's really overwhelmed. This isn't about me. This is about her being overwhelmed. We want to be patient to feel the feeling that we're having, call it out. In my case, in my little scenario, somebody might be doing that to me, holding their hand up. And I might first be like, well, now I'm offended. What the heck did I do to you? And calling it out on myself, wait a minute, I'm feeling offended. Let me ask myself a question here. Hold on. I think she's having a bad day. It is 7 o'clock in the morning. She came early. I wonder what's going on here. I don't think this is about me, right? Be patient. These feelings that we have are always to be recognized because they're signals for us. They're communicating with us. We recognize their roles to help ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
So I have to ask Kathleen, have you ever had a scenario where you've actually had that situation where you've had gone in and to talk to somebody? And I know you have kids and you might recognize this. I know I have this, my son, that you're feeling instantly, wait a minute, what did I do? What am I doing wrong? Right?
Absolutely.
You ever have this
Yeah.
scenario?
I have actually done that before. We talk about the business and stuff too as well. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely have been in situations where you're afraid, but yet you have to get the point across. So you have to pick and choose your words, I think, very wisely before you can make the scenario. If you don't want to make it a big deal, hopefully it doesn't become a big blow up, if, for a better lack of words. You definitely want to take your time, like you said. And I think what you're pointing out is just amazing. I think people do need to, they call it a timeout. Have you ever heard that
Right.
term? Give yourself that
Absolutely.
timeout.
Right. And in this case, we're actually giving ourselves a timeout in our brain because because our brain is constantly learning and we're teaching it, we're wanting to be able to give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, being like, you're okay. You're doing what you need to do. It's okay. Give yourself some grace in that, because that's kind of sometimes when you're learning that self-talk, you want that self-talk to be positive. You want to be confident in your ability to communicate.
And another thing is, Anne, I would say the age group makes a big difference. You talked about the kids, and then you talk,
Right?
I would say, at a different level for each person,
Sure.
depending on the situation, is cause for, let's do it at somebody's level.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then the thing is we're looking at is we're actually learning to lean into how we feel and what thoughts are coming up for us. Because what happens is we look to give ourselves that grace and that compassion. And in some cases, to say, what's coming up for me right now? What is this reminding me of? Our brains, again, have a very, very good, they do a very good job of associating people with feelings, places with feelings, right? I'll give you an example is that whenever I feel carefree and somebody goes, oh, when do you feel most carefree? The feeling of carefree, I'm going to picture a beach. Because every time I see the beach, it reminds me of being a kid in Florida from long summer days, right? And it's the same thing like when I talk to my son, I've learned I can't talk to my son the minute he hits the door after work.
You got to
Right?
get
That's
that
just
chill
bad.
out time. You need that calming time first. You have to unwind. Yeah, like some people
That's
take
right.
showers to
Yep.
therapeutically clear themselves of everything, and then you can come forward or sit and have a meal, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. You need other ideas to help you unwind.
Exactly. And what happens is those feelings and those thoughts in our mind of how we talk to ourselves, they're associated. They're associated with those moments. That's why sometimes they say, well, you got to pick the right time, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
to your point, you might feel really good when you're sitting down, having a cup of tea, relaxing, listening to some music. You got some real positive self-talk going on there. You're
Definitely.
feeling very good with yourself. So when you think about this, Kathleen, is there a place that for you, that you have a feeling that you're feeling grateful, you feel safe, you unwind? What does that picture look like for you?
Well, as you know, I am a music junkie. So, of course, if I'm in my zone, if you will, a lot of meditation music kind of helps out a lot. Just finding that comfort zone before I could deliver the message back.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, my outlet is enjoying walks, getting
Right.
out in the fresh air,
Wonderful.
breathing in the fresh air, taking some walks when it is nice out, of course. I
Mm-hmm.
used to go to the gym. That was an outlet, but things have changed. Prices have changed, so
Right.
you have to
Right.
figure out what works for you, strategy wise, pocketbook wise. There's a lot of factors that come into it. There are alternatives, and the only thing I want to say is we have choices. We have
We
lots of
do.
choices, and then we have alternate choices. You can take it or leave it and do something else. So,
Right. And the thought of that is that when you are feeling good and you've got those positive thoughts going, and that positive self-talk within your own mind of giving yourself grace, giving yourself compassion, bring to mind and say, wow, I handled that situation really well. You know what? I really did a good job handling and talking to this person. I was really kind, and recognize when you do well. And the reason why that's important is because it will serve you when that amygdala fires off and go, wait a minute, this looks scary. This isn't good. I don't know if you're doing this right. You're able to go back to that other moment and go, wait a minute, that can't be true. Because I remember the last time I handled this, I did a really good job and they listened to me and I was able to, talk to that person in kindness and love and still be able to get my point across.
so it's
Right.
stop, think, and listen before you speak.
Right. And again, it's the talk in your mind that you're looking for. You're looking for that positive self-talk. I'll give you another example. Might be, I might feel unsafe at times at night because I was held up with a man with a knife and he
Wow.
was wearing a baseball cap.
Mm.
Baseball caps worn by men with mustaches may make me feel scared. My brain remembers this. This was an incredibly emotional scenario for me. My brain's job is to protect me. But I know that all men with baseball caps and mustaches are not going to hurt me. But every time I see one at night, my body immediately is going to tense up like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, because my brain's remembering that. And it's my job to be able to look and say, hold on, wait a minute. Let's just, again, take a pause. Let's lean in and say, you know what, I'm feeling a little afraid right now. And then ask the question, what is causing me to be afraid? What is this reminding me of? And in that way, I actually am able to tell myself, hold on, this is reminding me of being nice. This gentleman in front of me is not going to do that. And I can tell myself that to make myself feel better. And that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to be able to have that self-talk instead of going down that rabbit hole. I don't know if any of you have gone down the ruminating rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I'm scared and this is awful and I gotta go and I can't do this and I'm freaking out, right? And then all of a sudden you get overwhelmed, right?
Like a panic attack. I've heard that
That's
before.
that's exactly right. Like you literally can get yourself all worked up and go down that hole of like every negative experience. And if I wasn't able to pause, lean into that feeling and ask a question, I might be like, oh my gosh, this guy kind of looks like him. How tall was that guy? Let me remember the night that I was held up with a knife. What is that? And bring myself back to a very bad time. And that's that self-talk.
So it's also like a retraining of the brain. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what we're doing, is we're retraining our brain, because what we're doing is when I see that guy at the Burger King at night and he's not going to hurt me today, I need to tell my brain, it's okay. This gentleman's not going to hurt you. And when I walk away, I need to be able to say, wow, you know, every man with a baseball cap and a mustache, they're not all bad. It's okay. And that needs to go into my reservoir, and I need to be able to tell myself that, so that I now am retraining and relearning that, you know what, I know I had that one bad experience, but this experience was okay. And I'm okay, I'm safe. And I do know how to handle myself in this situation, so that the next time I see somebody in a week from now, I can kind of tell myself that same story. Wait a minute, remember last time? We just saw him a week ago. I think we're going to be okay. That turned out okay. I think today's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. I'm going to have some confidence in myself.
And your body likes that, right? Your body loves the endorphins of positiveness, right? Instead of the negativity.
That's right. And again, we're not doing affirmations. We're not doing it based on, hey, just repeat a saying. We're looking at training based on the experience that you're having, based on your own memories, the data that's actually coming into you. That's the data that we're looking for. We're looking to take in the good that's around us. What is the takeaway from each experience, and how can that serve us for the next experience that we have? So we have confidence in the way we communicate with ourselves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. So that was what our L was. We're going to lean into those feelings. And I kind of already alluded to this, because the next one is you. Understand, what am I learning right now? What is this moment teaching me? We're going to feel the feeling. We're going to question the thought. And here's the really important part. We are going to have no judgment on ourselves. There's no guilt and there's no shame. We're just going to state the facts. Because when we can do that, we're going to show ourselves grace, and we're going to show ourselves some compassion. Anyone ever hear their parent in their head, this is bad, don't do that, you should never do that? Anybody? Am I the only one who's ever heard their parent in their head in a scenario that might happen?
Yeah, it's a parent. It's many different factors, many different people. Yeah, right? I've heard it before from other people.
So I'm going to give you an example. When I was learning how to drive, my father would always say in the car, listen, if your car breaks down, you do not stop that car. You need to keep driving that car to get somewhere safe. Do not stop on the side of the road. Like, he drilled that into my brain. And it now is like a thing. Like, I'm always like, if the car breaks down, don't stop. Be sure you're safe. Be sure you're safe.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like in my brain. And this is kind of that idea of being able to say, hold on, is that really true? Is that a true statement? Or am I able to say, no guilt, no shame? It's okay. There's no judgment. Give yourself that grace and compassion.
Pat yourself on the back, because you've got this.
That's correct. Let go of the thoughts that don't serve you. Because here's the thing. We can make decisions. And we're really, really good, smart, kind people. Each of us have these wonderful values. And right now, this moment, they might not land with you, but I bet if you really sat down with a piece of paper and a pen and wrote down the times that you were kind, the times that you were loving, the times that you were smart, the times that you were resourceful, I can guarantee you, you can come up with those scenarios, bring them to the forefront of your mind, and bring them out when you need them, so that when you're telling yourself, well, that's stupid, I'm so dumb, I didn't think of it, go, wait, that's not true. I remember a time when you were smart. Because there is no failure. It's just feedback.
And just remember that pens and paper and notepads go on and on and on. So you can add to that positiveness always.
That's correct. Your brain is a safe space. It is your BFF all the way. And treat it that way. It's on your side. And what this is all about is having yourself be on your own side. Give yourself the point. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if it didn't go perfectly. It's going to be fine. You're doing great. Encourage yourself. Be that cheerleader and that champion that you're looking for. Because again, going back to that validation, instead of looking for validation on the outside, give it to yourself on the inside. You're doing well.
Especially now, and with the holidays, I don't mean to interrupt you, but during the holidays, it seems that a lot of people seem to get into a slump. And it starts, probably mid-October once we start changing the time change and the sun goes down. A lot of people do, but this is a perfect segment. I absolutely love this one.
Wonderful. And I will tell you, there's a great tool that you can look up if you go online and you look at something called a thought record. It's a very popular tool that you can use, and you can print them out like a PDF version. And it actually moves you through this process. It doesn't have its fancy acronym like I use. It doesn't have plus. However, it will kind of walk you through of recognizing, what are you feeling? What is the thought behind this feeling? What is it reminding you of? And then, is this true? What is actually the truth and the evidence behind this?
I'm looking. There's a lot of them on here, Anne. There's a lot of them. Thought record. Let's see. I'm pulling it up. Walking in front of a group of people. They are talking about me. Angry, anxious, fear. Avoid having difficult performing at work. The could be talk about anything I will ask later.
Right.
That's one prime example. I just looked it up as you were talking.
Yeah, it's very, very useful. And it talks about this concept because the goal of this is the most important person for you to get validation from is yourself.
And then you could give it back to other folks.
That's exactly what you can do. And we really want to be sure that that communication within ourselves is where we always start. Because, you owe it to yourself. And I used to have a boss who used to say, take your right hand, pat yourself on the back. You're doing okay. You're doing well. And that adversity that you might have and those struggles that were so hard to get through, they actually provided you strength. There's gold in there. There's some gold in there because you learned some things that your adversity can actually give you an advantage. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to have that advantage. Because again, we're going to go to our last letter, and that's S. Seek the evidence to trust yourself, because it is there. There's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, and here's what it does. Whatever you seek, you will find. You will. If you tell your brain, this is what I want to be seeking, I want to look for the good, I want to look for the beauty, your brain is going to say, okay, your wish is my command, and it's going to find that. And every time you see it, your brain's going to be like, oh, there it is. Oh, I saw a beautiful sunset. Oh, do you see this bird over here? Oh, look at this flower. It's going to seek what you want it to find. So we're going to seek the evidence to trust ourselves. What is the evidence for the positive of your values, your strength, your worth? Sometimes it isn't you. It might be someone else. Think of the memories of you being kind and smart, funny, efficient, whatever those terms and adjectives that you would use to define yourself. Bring those memories to the forefront and note how those moments make you feel. Because here's the really cool thing about your brain. Your brain cannot tell the difference between visualizing it in your brain and the real world. If you close your eyes, you can bring that memory up and you can bring yourself right back to that moment. You will feel that feeling again. And that's what you're looking for. Because if you practice retrieving those memories when you're relaxed, they will come easier to you when you need them. So when you run into a mean person, you'll be like, wait a minute, this might not be me. I know that I'm a kind, loving person. This person may just be stressed or unhappy. And maybe I can help them. Because again, you've got those memories that can be right up. It's kind of like practicing for the fire alarm. This is what this is about, is positive communication within yourself and reinforcing and seeking that out.
And you have the tools. You have the tools.
That's right.
You're in charge of the driver's seat. That's the way I look at it. It's your own driver's seat. It's, if you want to make it something more positive, if you want that, you'll do it.
That's right. So I have to ask, Kathleen, is there any thoughts that you have or anything that comes up for you, or what are the memories or thoughts you have for your most positive attributes?
I love to see people in the morning, a good handshake, a nice hug. I'm Italian, so I hug everybody.
I love that.
I think touch is important. I think touch is very important. Not a lot of people are about that, unfortunately, because we went through the whole COVID thing. Definitely a nice high five, a smile. I was always told years ago, if somebody doesn't look you in the face when they communicate, then they're full of bologna and cheese. So definitely you need to look me in the eyeballs and, this is the real deal.
That's right.
Give it back. Just pay it forward. Especially, there's so many people out there that are less fortunate in many circumstances. But I've always greeted people, whether it works out or it doesn't work out for the circumstances at hand. I'm always, hello, how are you? Firm handshakes are good too.
That's right. And take the chance. Know for yourself and be confident in the way that you communicate because of who you are. That again, it is what it is.
Right.
Just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean you should try again. Mm-hmm. Just because someone doesn't shake your hand or give you a hug doesn't mean I'm never going to do that again. Are you? Is that really true? Because again, that's more about them than it is about you. Mm-hmm. But if you are that way, have confidence in yourself. Wear that and show that, because no one can shine the way you can.
And keep your head up high.
The way you are, exactly. Every person has something to offer to the world. And when we show up, I call it wearing your hat. You show up humble, authentic, and transparent to the world. And that's the best that you have to offer. Because at that moment, we each are unique. And we're able to give of ourselves, give to ourselves, and give of ourselves to others. So hopefully this was your good word of the day. And again, please feel free to follow me on Instagram and social media for Finding Strength with Anne. And definitely my website is on the Chill Factor. So feel free to reach out to me. If there's anything that I can do to work with you for positive neuroplasticity or coaching to help you be your best self, to shine.
There you go.
The world needs you.
I want to let you know that my friend Teresa is listening in. My mom is listening in up from Maine. My friend Antoinette is listening in. My friend Gabriella is listening in. Laura is listening in. Lauren. Elaine is listening in. Joan is listening in this evening. Quite a few people. My friend Nick is listening in. And of course, Mikey is listening in. So we have quite the crowd tonight of people. I had messaged some of them in reference to any questions. I think everybody's very scared. Don't be afraid, guys. It's, Ann, don't be afraid. Ann knows her stuff. She's really good at this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm really here to be able to help us be on our own side. And again, going back to that, the neurons that wire together, that fire together, wire together. So we're looking to basically teach ourselves how to learn. How do we retrain our brain? So that it's not constantly looking for that negative, but saying, you know what, there's a lot of positive out here. Let me start seeking that so we can be on our own side.
Yeah, and choosing our battles very wisely. I have one
That's right.
question, Anne. So you're
Sure.
going back to how you were talking about learning, like we were talking about the taking a little break before you discuss. What is the time frame in which, so say, prime example, two people, have something that they have to discuss and you need that little bit of a break and then you can come forward to it. How do you know when it's time to back off to come forward with a discussion?
It's literally that pause in your brain that we're looking at. It's literally that 3-second pause that's in your brain so that you can seek first to understand. And what I usually tell people is, I know sometimes, especially in conflict resolution and in talking to people, we're like, but I just have to tell them. And what I would encourage people to do is to change what you're going to tell them and ask it as a question to understand their point of view. That pause and those questions that you might be able to ask. And again, that's what you're looking to do for yourself.
Perfect.
You're not because sometimes in your head, you're like, wait a minute, I know I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to do that. Instead saying, hold on, what is coming up for me right now? What am I thinking? Why am I thinking I shouldn't say that right now?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this important to say? Instead of sometimes berating ourselves, nope, I have to do that. I screwed up. I made a mistake. I think I did that wrong. Darn it, I wish I hadn't done that. All that wording could all be replaced by asking a question. What's coming up right now? What could you have done better?
Perfect.
What did you do well?
Perfect.
And it's the same thing when you're talking to somebody else, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely turn it into a question.
Right. So seeing something from somebody else's point of view, because that's really what you're looking to do for yourself. Because again, your brain's looking to protect you. It doesn't ever want you to get hurt or injured or anything to happen. That's its job.
And that's when it goes back to I know there's some people thinking, oh my gosh, Kat, you're going to throw the medical. Yeah, I am. It's called homeostasis. Your body wants to go back to its natural state.
That's right. That's right. And we're trying to say, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Let me just ask the question here.
Yep.
Be vulnerable with yourself. Be vulnerable with yourself. It's okay to go there.
That's how you learn and grow too.
That's correct. And that's what we're looking to do, right? We're looking to learn and teach our brain where we want it to go.
And I've had some good teachers out there, so I'm grateful for all of them. Anne, has been my pleasure again. Anne picked out a song for everybody to listen to, Brave by Sarah Bareilles, right here on the Chill Factor. Anne, it's been my pleasure again. We'll keep up the good work. I cannot wait, to do some more segments with you. Let me know as we grow here on the Chill Factor. Everybody that's listening in tonight, don't forget to go check out Anne's page. She's on Instagram. She's on, I think you're still on TikTok, right? I'm not sure. Are you still
Yes, I am. Yep.
Okay.
I've got some videos on TikTok and on Instagram and on Facebook and on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place.
And on the Chill Factor, she's way up on there.
I would love to connect with everybody and anybody, like I said, because I know that together that we can shine, and we've got a message, and we really have our authentic selves to show to the world.
There you go. Well, thank you again. And Anne, you have a good evening. And as always, great information. We will talk very soon.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for having me.
Okay, Anne. Bye-bye, honey.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.